All right, you guys, I am back for another episode. Welcome to Fun on Weekdays podcast. And if y'all didn't know this, I was in Nashville for the past weekend. So I just got back about 2 days ago. I am still recovering. Literally so exhausted. I don't know how anybody lives in Nashville or like the downtown area at least, because it's just so much going on, complete sensory overload. But I figured we would talk about this episode as just like a recap of Nashville, comparing it to Austin, because I know a lot of people are kind of like thinking about moving to either city. And then also just my experience from the event that I hosted to CMA Fest, some things that we did, some places we ate, stuff like that. And also, more importantly, how I kind of recharge after going on a quote unquote vacation. Even though this was a work trip, I definitely, I got to enjoy my time for sure. And it was time away. So every time I go somewhere else and I come back to Austin, you miss quite a bit. And so to catch up on the work that you missed, or just that overwhelming feeling of like all the stuff that you have to get done that you couldn't do when you were away, I totally feel you guys. So let's start, I guess, from the very beginning. So my friend Courtney Shields, I made friends with her around the time of South by Southwest. So this was, I think, March time, and I got invited to a Dibs Beauty brunch. I'd never heard of her brand before. I had never met Courtney. I've seen her in a ton of pictures and, on Instagram and stuff, but I had no idea she lived in Austin. So I went to that beauty brunch. We ended up meeting, making friends, and just connecting. And after that, I started hanging out with her quite a bit more. So she is, I would say, kind of like a mentor to me in a sense. She's a little bit older than me. She's been doing social media for so long, like 10 plus years almost, I think. I might be wrong on that. But she's like an OG Instagram influencer. And I think what's really, really cool and unique about her is that she now has two brands. She has a jewelry company and she has a beauty company. And so Dibs Beauty is the one that I've really been working with her about. I mean, I haven't been working with her. I shouldn't say that, but we talk a lot about it because I've always wanted to get into like that kind of space with starting my own business. And so I just see her as a mentor and a really great friend and just kind of like an older sister figure for me. So she was telling me after a hot girl walk that we went on, we were sitting at Mozart's Coffee in Austin on the lake. Really, really cute spot if you are looking for a coffee shop in Austin. She was telling me that she had an event coming up in Nashville in like 3 weeks. She was doing just some type of community event where they were giving out free product and teaching people about how to use them. And then also kind of like a mixer, more invite only, like she's launching a new product. So she had some of her Nashville friends come and I wanted to go. I'm like, oh my God, I've never been to Nashville, and like trying to drop a hint here. Have like my Debbie Ryan, like push my hair behind my ear moment, like trying to hint to her, I would love to go. So she was like, you should definitely come then. I didn't really expect her to say that, but I was like, hell yeah, I'll go. So what started as that, I was supposed to just literally go to Nashville for the Dibs event just to like be a good friend and support her. And also I've been talking back and forth with Dibs about some ways that we can work together. So I think it's just like a good way to kind of get integrated, I would say. So it started as that. And then I was thinking about it and like, wait, I have so many people that follow me in Nashville. I should do an event while I'm there and just create it into a longer trip. And so because my events are always on weekdays and because it was the CMA Fest, I figured I would do my event on Thursday, meaning another day added on. I would have to travel there on Wednesday. So it all starts Wednesday. Connor came with me. Nancy came with me. We all got on the same Southwest flight. I personally love Southwest. You get 2 free bags. I mean, we had nonstop flights, and it was the cheapest flight too, which was crazy. So our flights ended up getting delayed by like 4 hours. Originally, we were supposed to get into Nashville at 11 p.m. on Wednesday night, and that would give us enough time to, get to a hotel and then get a good night's rest and wake up in the morning. But it got delayed until I think we took off at like 12:45. is when we were supposed to take off, and then even a little bit after that. So we ended up getting to Nashville around 2:45 a.m. And then we stayed at this hotel that I booked the day of. If there is one thing about me, it is that I am always last minute. People are always like, you gotta let us know the next time you're doing an event or something, like a little bit more notice. You guys, I feel like I'm constantly flying by the edge of my seat. Like every day, I just impulsively decide to do things. So I booked our hotel literally the morning of. It was called Benton Hill or something like that. Oh gosh, now I don't remember. But it was pretty close to the airport. It was very cute. It was like little kind of apartment style. You guys, it really doesn't matter. So we get to the hotel and we sleep for probably 5 hours. And then the next day we had to wake up early because we needed to shower and get ready. It was the day of the event. And so like that first night, we didn't get to see any part of Nashville. We just went straight there and like passed out. And then the next morning, another thing about me is if I'm going to be somewhere traveling, I like to try and maximize every single thing that I could possibly do while in that city. So I like to kind of tell you guys when I'm going somewhere because it can also lead to a lot of other really cool opportunities as well. So while I was there, I was able to work with Virgin Hotels. So they hosted us at the Virgin downtown, which was really, really good location. Like it was so close to Broadway, but it wasn't right in the thick of it. So we had some privacy and some time to like kind of relax and be away from all the bustle. So the hard part though was we were supposed to check out of our first hotel at 10 and then we couldn't go to our second hotel until like 2 p.m. So there was kind of like an in-between in there, and I don't even remember what we ended up doing. I think we ended up getting a late checkout and then an early check-in, which was crazy. I was not expecting that. The hotel was super, super nice. 2 beds, queen beds. Nancy slept in her own bed. Connor and I slept in the other bed, had a little bit of a slumber party. And if before you are wondering, like, was that weird? Honestly, no. Like, we love hanging out with Nancy. Connor loves Nancy. They get along so well. I feel like they have such good banter. And honestly, it was kind of fun. So we stayed at the Virgin. After we got all settled in, honestly, it was like right then and there we had to start getting ready for the event because at 4 p.m. was when we were able to go and set up for the Fun on Weekdays event that I was hosting. So got all dressed and ready and then Ubered over. The event that I hosted was at Nashville Palace. So for anybody who knows Lexi Burke on TikTok, she really started during quarantine because she had a video of tipping one of her like really great servers who was going through it during that time. And that video went viral. People loved the idea of like Venmoing her to tip other waiters and waitresses that deserved it or just people in service industry. And so she started doing that. But not only that, her husband, I think his name's Austin Burke, which I should really know this because he's a country singer, is a famous singer in Nashville. And she also owns Ranch Hands, which is like a cowboy-esque dance group. So for a really long time, Lexi and I have been connected online, but we've never met in person. And I knew when I was going to Nashville, I wanted to do something with her group. So we were at Nashville Palace, which is a very like honky-tonk looking place. I mean, I could not have picked a better place to host it because it really did capture what I wanted out of my Nashville experience, because as somebody who's never been there, I'm like, well, I want to leave here doing some line dances, seeing some cowboys dance, and having some good drinks. All right, as we all know, Fun on Weekdays podcast is sponsored by Macy's. And because I was just in Nashville for the weekend and I live in Austin, it just makes sense for me to add cowboy boots to my landing page. I cannot tell you how many messages, comments, DMs that I get asking for affordable, comfortable, and cute cowboy boots. I have to say my collection has grown to like 7, maybe even 8 pairs right now. So I'm going to link some really good options for you on my landing page. It's Macy's.com/FOW. There's some Steve Madden ones and some other options as well. I hope you guys enjoy and check it out. Macy's.com/FOW. we got there at 4 o'clock. We started setting up the decorations for like, the balloons and the letters and the goodie bags, and was very fortunate that B-Tan came in. They sponsored the event. They gave girls self-tanner, sunscreen, tanning mitts, like decked it out. So for the first 2 hours that we were getting ready for the event, we were just moving like nonstop. And then all of a sudden it hits 6 o'clock and girls start coming in and starting to like sit down and mingle and get drinks and food. And so for the first hour of the event, it was more of like a social hour. There were a lot of girls that came alone. One specifically that like is on the top of my mind is a girl who was from Australia, and she was on holiday, which is so funny. Like holiday, vacation, I kept getting really confused. I'm like, what holiday is it? It's not a holiday. I don't know. And then I realized, oh, that's just her way of saying vacation. So she was alone in Nashville, and she just decided to come to my event. I'm like, what are the actual odds? There were 2 girls that drove like 6 hours to come, and they had work at 6 a.m. the next day. I'm like, you guys are actually crazy. So for that first hour, I just got to meet people and kind of like hear their stories and talk and chat. And it's always great, like to meet people. It can definitely be overwhelming, but part of the reason why I like doing the events is because I know for a fact that like for the next 3 hours, I'm going to give my all of my attention, all of my energy into these girls. And it's kind of like nice being able to mentally prepare for that. So that's what we did for the first hour. And then the second hour at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, I believe, we had ranch hands perform. And online, it says that they are like, I don't know if it says they're PG-13, but it says that it's not like super inappropriate. So I was just kind of picturing, like moderately sexy, moderately like inappropriate. Oh my God. I was sitting in the back with Connor because I'm like, oh my God, he must really freaking love me to be sitting here watching all of these like shirtless cowboys dance and like basically dry hump girls. Oh my God. I was shocked. So they started off with, I think it was Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy, which was obviously the perfect song to start with. And then they got girls involved. They came out into the crowd. They were dancing at people's tables. They brought some girls up onto the stage. And I really liked this event in comparison to some of the other ones that I've done because we all had an activity to do. I think some of the previous events that I've done where it's more of just like a mingling social hour, it's not as easy to actually mingle when all you have to do is like talk. Versus having this event and doing an activity like dancing and watching these people perform, you have something to talk about with somebody after the show is over. And I feel like it kind of alleviates that stress of trying to think about, oh my God, what do I talk about? Is she gonna think I'm weird? Is this awkward? You both just went through the same experience, so now you can talk about the dance. So I thought that was really great. Definitely got some girls out of their comfort zone. I know it got me out of my comfort zone. And then the last hour of it was just some more mingling, and we did line dancing. I am not kidding you. I had so much fun. I learned 2 new dances, and I kept pulling them out like all weekend because this is now going to be my party trick are these line dances. So the event was amazing. I could not have asked for a better turnout. Originally, we were going to have 250 girls, but because it was CMA Fest, the venue was a little further away. I only ended up selling 170. And when I say only, that's not to discredit the fact that 170 is a shit ton of people. Like, it's really crazy when you're on stage and you're actually visualizing all of the people that came for your event. It's like a whole nother level of, I don't know, what's the word? Humbleness, but I don't know. You get what I'm trying to say. So it actually ended up being the perfect amount of people because we were not crammed. There was definitely enough space to move around, but not too much space that you could kind of like go off and do your own thing and kind of shell up or be a little shy. So I thought it was great. And I would love to come back to Nashville again and do another event. Honestly, like my gears, oh my gosh, my gears were turning as I was there thinking like, oh my God, this is so great. How can we do it again, but like up it? Or how can we replicate this into a different type of event? So that was great. And then let's see, after the event that I hosted, we ended up going to a concert for my friend Harper Grace. She was on American Idol a few years back when they did the first year of the reboot with not Kelly Clarkson. Oh my God, you guys. I am on one today. My mind is like moving faster than my mouth can. Or my mouth is moving. You know what I mean. Oh my gosh. Okay, so she was on the first reboot when Katy Perry was a judge. And she was insane. I was obsessed with her. She auditioned with the song Yard Sale, which was her own original. And then she sang another song called Rest in Peace. And so for years, I was just like obsessed with this girl. And we ended up becoming friends through TikTok like a year and a half or 2 years ago when I first moved to Austin. She lives in Nashville. She performs, she sings, she teaches music lessons. She's just a rock star of a person, and I cannot wait for the day that she absolutely blows up. She is going to be like the next Carrie Underwood. I can just feel it. She has the most infectious personality and energy, and I love it. So after my event, we went to her concert, which was downtown on Broadway. It was at the roof deck of Assembly Food Hall. And in the middle of that, I got a Philly cheesesteak from Assembly Food Hall. I have to say it might have been the best thing I've eaten in like a few years. It was so good. But my stomach did not love me after that. My stomach was just gurgling nonstop. Like it was a little rough. So pushed through that. Her concert was amazing. She just performed for 45 minutes. And then after that, Lexi Burke was like, oh, hey, I'm right across the street. We're at Jason Aldean's bar. So we all ended up going over to that bar. And one thing that I realized about Nashville is that there's a lot more rooftops than there are in Austin. And the buildings are like, they're narrow and long, so you have to go up a lot of stairs to get to the rooftop, and then the rooftop is usually packed. And it's really cool because you can like see down the road and you can see all the other people. But it was definitely a lot more party vibes than I was expecting. I don't know why, just in my mind, Nashville to me was like live country music everywhere you go, not really like EDM or dubstep style, kind of like house music. But this place was 100% like club music. So I'm standing there in my white cupcake frilly dress and my pink cowboy boots, and they're playing like like really hardcore bass and like crazy club music. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm so out of my element right now. I have not been out at like a bar in so long. And not only that, but I was just not dressed for the occasion at all. I'm like, how does one even dance in this frilly little dress when this is the kind of music that's playing? So after a couple of drinks, I loosened up a little bit. I'm like, I'm gonna pull out these little line dances I learned 2 hours ago. So sure enough, Nancy and I are line dancing while the bass is in the background, club music going. And we ended up staying out super late that night. We stayed out until like 2:30 a.m. and then Ubered back home. Connor came home early because he was super tired, like just crazy. So me and Nancy had a little girls' night, a little bonding session, which honestly, Nancy and I never really get to like hang out without talking about work. I think we're both very work-driven people. So even if we were to be hanging out, we would naturally start talking about an event or an idea or something that's going on. And I think for that night, it was the first time we really just kind of like let loose a little bit. And Nancy's a little party girl. She's a little dancer. She is the shot instigator 100%. So it was good to see that kind of side of her. And then the next morning, we wake up. Thank God I was not hungover because I'm like, we have a long ass day ahead of us. So waking up with a headache or like that anxiety, you know, when you're just absolutely shaking from all the sugar you drank, I was shocked that I didn't have it. But we started the morning by going to Body Rock, which was a Pilates class with reformers, and that's where Harper goes. So me and Nancy went with her to that. And then what day is it at this point? This day is Friday. Okay, so then after that, we went to Biscuit Love. I got the biscuits and gravy. Why in the world is biscuits and gravy the most unappetizing food I've ever seen in my life? It looks literally like throw up on a plate, but it is the best thing I've ever tasted ever. Ever. That's how much I loved it. So I got that. We also got the Bonuts, which are apparently biscuit donuts. And anybody from Nashville that's listening to this, I've heard some mixed reviews. Some people said it's overhyped. Some people said they love it. I personally was obsessed. If they were in Austin, I don't know if I would go that often just because it's like a very, very heavy meal, but it was exactly what I needed. And then later that day, we went to, oh gosh, what did we do? Oh, later that day, we just kind of like hung out and chilled. I came back home, I took a shower, got ready again. And then that was the night that we ended up going to CMA Fest. So before we went to the concert at Nissan Stadium, we went to the Virgin Hotel's rooftop, got the espresso martini there. Highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Was so good, but so strong. So be careful. And we got the Brussels sprouts and I think the hummus. And everything was very good. I mean, seriously, the hotel was great. If you're looking for somewhere to stay and you're visiting, this is not even like an ad right now, but I would 100% stay there again if I go back to Nashville. That's how much I really enjoyed it. So then we headed over to the Nissan Stadium. And as we got into the stadium, Kelsey Ballerini was singing. I don't know why, but like I just was not expecting that many people in the stadium because it was in a football stadium and I've never been to like a country music festival before. So it was a really cool experience and sat down, listened to all of the remaining people. I think Kane Brown was the last one. He closed it out, which I didn't realize that I knew as many of his songs as I did. That is the one thing about country music is that I know a lot of the songs. I just don't know the artists at all. So really enjoyed that. It was pretty hot in the stadium. There were definitely a lot of people. And I have to say, one thing about this trip that I like should have known a little bit more, like try to prepare myself for a little bit more is when you are in a huge, huge stadium and there's tons of people that are drinking and there's tons of like young people and a lot of girls that like might listen to my podcast that I'm probably going to be stopped and recognized quite a bit. So I have to say I was like pretty overwhelmed when I was at the concert just because, I don't know, I felt like I was kind of always on edge. When I do the events, it's totally different because like I know for a fact that I'm going to meet a ton of people. But when you are out in public and you're doing something like with your friends, I get pretty paranoid because like you see people from afar that see a glimpse of you and like their eyes light up or they like you can see them talking to somebody or you see them taking a picture of you or you see somebody walking aggressively towards you and you just think in your mind like, oh my God, what's happening? So it is definitely very overwhelming. I should have prepared myself for that in Nashville specifically just because there's so many of y'all there. But I have to say, I mean, I enjoyed meeting everyone. Even if I came across like I didn't, I apologize. I made a TikTok about this today. There was a girl who said that she was really disappointed when she met me because I was rude. And I feel like what people have to remember is that I have never been to Nashville, don't know a single thing about it. Very overwhelming with so much going on, so many people, a lot of people drinking, and also having come off of a big event where my social battery is pretty dead. Not that it's an excuse, but I don't think I was rude to absolutely anyone other than maybe being like off-putting to people who were actually in my face, like to the point that when they're talking, they're spitting on my face, which that to me is like never okay. But that's what I have to say about that. Okay, so after the concert, we went to Spotify House because Nelly was performing and Harper Grace, my friend that I had mentioned, she did American Idol, she was just on tour with Nelly, which was so cool. Like, what? That is so cool. So she was the opener for Nelly and Nelly gave her tickets to come see him at the Spotify House, and Connor also donated Waterboy for like the artist gift bags, which is really cool. Like, I don't know why. I need to hype him up about that more because that's a really cool experience. So we went to, what was it called? Ole Red, I think. That bar was really cool. I mean, I didn't get to see it like in its normal state because obviously there's a stage going on and everything. But Jessie James was finishing up her act when we got there. And we went up to the Spotify like artist room because we got wristbands since Harper was with us and Connor. And it was so cool. Like so cool because you got to see all of the artists in this room with like their friends and family. They had drinks available. They had a bunch of cake. I got the carrot cake. So good. And then Nelly didn't perform until 1:30. So we're all sitting there like basically half asleep. At that point, we were like, okay, we either leave right now and just leave, or if we stay for another 10 minutes, we might as well just stay for the entire thing. Ended up staying, and I was really happy that we did because Nelly was insane. I did not realize that I'm as big of a Nelly fan as I apparently am. So that was really cool, especially because it's a very intimate concert. And I think the really cool thing about CMA Fest is that all of the concerts are pretty intimate other than like the big Nissan stage. And yeah, I mean, I loved it. Very glad that we stayed up, and we ended up going to sleep around like, I don't know, 3 or 3:30. So another late night in Nashville. We did not go out after that, and we didn't drink at all. Honestly, other than Thursday night at my event and then going out after, I didn't drink at all. So people's drunkenness is heightened when you are sober. And when you're sober and no one else is, I think you might not have as much fun, or you do, but like you just get tired a lot faster. I don't know. Okay, so the next day is Saturday. It's our last day in Nashville, and in the morning we got up, we checked out at the hotel, and then, gosh, what did we do? Oh, we went shopping a little bit. We ended up going to this like hat store. They had a hat pop up somewhere, and one of the girls who runs the social for the brand kept messaging me and like tagging me and everything. So I'm like, okay, I have to go see this girl, even if I don't get a hat, which I didn't get a hat. So she was at Love Shack Fancy, and that was really nice to see her and talk with her about, you know, some ideas of what we could do for an event or something. Oh my gosh, you guys, the main reason why I went to Nashville, this is what we did during the day. We went to the Dibs event, and Courtney was there. Her whole team was there. We were there for like 3 hours. I brought Nancy and Harper. They did our makeup, like little retouches, and she's launching an eyeshadow. So it was kind of like a little launch party for that. And people might be wondering, like, what do you do at these influencer events for so long? For me, I see every single event as a networking opportunity because you just literally never know who you could meet. And so for me, I ended up spending about an hour, maybe even more than that, talking with the Dibs team about like events that I had going on and potentially coming to them and like ways we could work together. And even though it's like a fun thing, I am always 100% on in those scenarios. So it can be a little tiring, but you got to work hard to get far. So it was a good time. And I love talking business stuff. Maybe one day I'll do an episode all about like the ins and outs of influencer stuff and partnerships and all that. So if you want to hear about it, let me know. But anyways, after that, our flight was delayed for a little bit. So we ended up going back to the hotel, just chilling, and played ping pong for a little bit. We got barbecue from Ederly, I think is what it's called. It was really good. Really good. I can't say that it's better than Austin. So here are my takeaways from Nashville. Really good food, but Austin has better barbecue. Nashville has better biscuits and like Southern food. The downtown area is much bigger. I was not expecting Nashville to be so large. And I think Austin is just quite a bit more condensed, at least in the downtown area. There's more neighborhoods in Austin in terms of like East Austin or South Congress or like even Rainey Street District, Mueller, the Triangle. Austin is kind of like spread out, but the main downtown is pretty small. I'm not super familiar with Nashville, but from what I saw, the downtown is way bigger. It's way more spread out. There's a lot more taller buildings like all over. But overall, the vibes are pretty similar in terms of like the way people act. Everyone was so freaking nice in Nashville, like so nice. I just felt like every single person that I met was like the nicest person I'd ever met. It was insane. The Uber drivers, the waitresses, the girls that I met at the event, everyone is also absolutely stunning, like beautiful. If there was a place that somebody wanted to move where every single person there was absolutely gorgeous, Nashville. I don't know what it is. I don't know what kind of water they're drinking or what, but Nashville people are gorgeous. Their personalities, stunning. Yeah. And the style there is kind of similar to Austin, but definitely more like country, I would say. People that are not from Austin definitely dress like they're going to Nashville, if that makes sense. Like everybody there was wearing booty shorts, cowboy hats, cowboy boots, some type of like little crop tank. It was very hot there. Definitely not as hot as Austin. And then the only other like major difference really is just the bar scene. Broadway is pretty comparable, I would say, to Dirty Six, which is like East 6th of downtown Austin. However, it felt a lot more safe, and it also felt quite a bit bigger. So overall, Nashville is just a little bigger to me, a little more country, a little more honky-tonk. And Austin, I would say, has more outdoor areas, like more hiking, more trails. We have Lady Bird Lake that we spend a lot of time on the water in the summer. But overall, I mean, I loved Nashville. If I was just now starting to look at moving to a different city, Nashville would probably be on my list. I would have to go back and do another visit, so we'll see. Maybe in the next couple months or in the next year, I'll be back to Nashville. Maybe not during CMA Fest because it was very, very busy. But yeah, overall, you guys, I loved Nashville. Highly recommend. Totally understand why they call it, what is it called? Like Dirty Nash? Nasty Nash? And I also really understand why there's so many bachelorette parties there. I mean, every other car on the street was like a party bus, which is really cool. They don't have that in Austin. I think that would do really well in Austin. But like I said, our downtown is just not that big. It's like, where do you even go? Where do you have the bus take you? So yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll be a Nashville girly. But that's it. And then, so I ended up coming home Saturday night. I was thinking about extending my flight and staying on Sunday, but I'm really, really glad that I didn't. Because when I got home, I just realized how exhausted I truly was. Because keep in mind too, like not only the event, but then the Dibs event and then the concert. And when we were at the concert, I was connecting with people from Spotify and I'm like trying to kind of pitch myself because in these scenarios, like you have to take advantage of every situation you're in and every opportunity that could potentially come out of it. So when I got back, I was like, holy crap, that was a lot. And it finally hit me of I've just been kind of like nonstop for the past few weeks. And when I come back from traveling, it is so important to decompress. So today I was having a little bit of a mental block. Didn't know what the heck to have this episode about. And so I asked Instagram on my story, what are some topics for podcast episodes? And a lot of them were about doing a recap on Nashville, how I liked it and everything. And then some people wanted to know about like social anxiety. And I kind of talked about that like a little bit in this, but I could talk about it more. But mainly a lot of people wanted to know, how do you kind of like refresh from going on a trip, which is what I touched at the very beginning of the episode. So here are some tips from me because I do travel quite a bit. I try to get as much done before I go on the trip as possible. So if I have like a couple partnerships that require me to be in Austin, I try to just get it done like before I go. And my managers can attest for the fact that I'm not always the best at that. But when I don't get things done before going on the trip, it's just another added level of stress of something lingering in the back of my mind of, oh shit, I have to do this. Or like the second I get home, it's a priority. And when you first get home from a trip, like that's not necessarily what you want to do. You want to just sit and relax and not have to work. So try to get everything done before you leave. Try also not to focus on things that you need to do while you're there. It's definitely very hard for me to not do that. But one thing that I'm so bad at is making sure my apartment is clean before I leave. My apartment has been an absolute mess. And when it is clean, my mentality and my motivation is so much higher. So I've been trying to do a much better job at having a clean, organized space. And before we left for Nashville, I cleaned my bedding. I put it back on there. So like as soon as I got home, I was in a fresh new bed. I washed my towels. I did all of my dishes. I took the trash out so that nothing smelled over the weekend. Make sure if you have any produce that's like already kind of going bad, if you're going to be gone for 4 to 5 days, it's probably going to be rotten by the time you come back. So throw it away or give it to somebody, whatever it is. Just make sure that when you come back to your space, it's the most calming that it can be. Because after a long weekend away, even if you are just on like a relaxing vacation, going to the beach or a pool or I don't know, like something that's not mentally draining, the traveling aspect of it is still draining. You're going to be tired. So whenever I do come back from traveling, I always give myself the next day to just sleep in and not feel guilty about it. So yesterday I slept in until like, I want to say close to noon. Like it was pretty late, and I didn't do anything mentally draining the day that I came back. So I actually ended up going to a park with Quincy and Connor. We took him on a playground. We took him down the slide and on a little swing set, and he had so much fun. So we wore him out. Connor and I went and got lunch, and we just kind of like got some things done. I came to the office and he helped me put a desk together, but I didn't do anything like work related as soon as I got back. So I feel like because I took another day away from getting anything done, yes, I was putting things off, but I think more importantly, I was recharging. And I think also after having talked to so many people while on this trip, you can be tired of just having conversations sometimes. So I mean, I feel like it's kind of obvious, like when I don't want to talk to Connor or when I just kind of want to like do my own thing. But I didn't really like reply to many of my friends' texts. I mean, I was with Connor, so like I talked to him, but I didn't really talk to that many people because I feel like sometimes being quiet is how I recharge my social battery. And I don't know, I think it works because today I feel a lot better. I did stay in my bed until like 2:30. I was honestly waiting for some motivation to make this episode, but then after seeing your guys' ideas, I did my makeup, I made my bed, and I got something to eat. I felt a lot better. So even when you're going on trips, whether it's a work trip or vacation-related trip, always take care of yourself when you're coming home. Because if you don't, it can really lead into like the next week or the following or the next month. And then you're really never like stress free until your next vacation. So those are some of my tips for recharging after. And last thing that I'm not good at that I just remembered as I'm about to end this is unpacking your freaking suitcase. Unpack it right now, you guys. The second you walk in your door, unpack the suitcase. Put your makeup away. Because when you shower the next day and you're looking for your makeup and it's all in a bag and you have to scurry through it, you're going to create a mess that you're not going to want to clean up. And you're going to have your dirty underwear, your dirty clothes in your suitcase. And your suitcase is probably going to be like in your haul in the way of everything else. And then you're just going to dump it all onto the floor and you're never going to put it away. And it's going to take so much longer to clean because then you're going to be competing with your other laundry. Oh my God, I could go on for 500 years about why you should always unpack your suitcase right away. That is something I've learned the hard way. And I have to say, my suitcase is sitting at home right now, still packed. So I'm going to end this episode. I hope y'all enjoyed my little recap talking about Nashville. Hopefully I'll be back soon, and I'm going to go unpack my suitcase, you guys. I'll talk to you next Tuesday.